Okie dokie. How to survive a British winter on absolutely minimum cost if you're living in an unheated, I'll come to that in a minute, van, or even if you can't pay your heating bill and you live in a little house or are homeless in a tent. Now, if this gets any comments, I don't read comments, but you'll have pious, really rather silly people putting comments saying, oh, you're not homeless, you're just roofless, and living the life. Ask those kinds of people if they're prepared to sell their house if they own their houses. I think about 60% of people of Britain do, at half the market rate. I think that kind of entitles you to make these smug comments. Right. Now, the essentials. Well, the first thing is to actually train yourself not to use words like the essentials. Now, this is going to have to be essentially in about 5 parts, because the only one thing I do not do is edit videos. And I don't actually usually even remember to put the pause on. Now, those are there just to remind me of there is one fundamental problem. Literally. Now, so briefly. So, I've lived in this van for 4 years solid, only in this little van. It's a Mark 1 Berlingo. I can sleep with straight out, and my feet will poke out to about there. But you don't actually need to have your body straight out. You can scrunch up a bit. Right. The most important thing is you have to accept one fundamental thing. I mean, it's about 0 degrees tonight. Last night it was about 0. And I'm up in the hills, and I'm actually heading to a day's work. But I don't really want to work very much. We'll come to that later. I've lived in this van for 4 years. In the last 16 years, I've spent 8 years living only in van, off-grid, never paying for a campsite, never paying for parking. And the first 4 years was actually in a non-functional, broken down transporter. Okay, I had a very small caravan as well, and a 12-foot caravan. I spent most of the time in the caravan. I was between houses, and then some tragedy happened connected to my child. Prior to that, I'd many years had a camper van and used to go off a lot into Europe and into Wales, always on an extremely low budget as a single parent. Frankly, if you're not on a low budget as a single parent, or even a parent for that matter, you're not doing your job of parenting, because kids need so much. No, they don't need it. It's a joy to give them every second of your life. Right, let's try and get to the point and not sound too pious. Oh, the sun's coming up. This is a lovely road. Little bit busier than I would normally select, but there's a mast up there that I need to stop underneath briefly. Right, no heating, none. Now, I try, for A, reasons of economy, but B, environmental reasons, I try to survive, keep going, do a bit of work, and hide, because the first essential that you have to incorporate is that virtually nobody likes van people living like this. So actually I always try and keep it such that I look like I'm just a worker, not living in my van. But right, quickly. Yes, the first thing. This is especially for the winter, but if you adopt this habit in the winter, you'll find that it works all the way through the year. Now, this is for somebody this is not van nomad life, and my tip is kind of don't have anything to do with them because they're almost all fake. This is somebody who can't afford their rent anymore or is crushed by years of having to pay too high a rent, that kind of thing, blah, blah, blah. Or if you need just to take time out, but it's no good taking a few weeks out. You need to take a year or two out to really get into the groove of it in a really healthy way. Because the purpose of living like this, I say living aside, is to kind of reassess your place in life. Now, I'm over 60, but I've never felt younger. And I repeat, I have no heating. So the first thing is, okay, well, apart from the obvious, yes, layers. Now, I sleep. I forget that I've just worn these clothes for like 3 or 4 days. It's like these, I got 2 layers of natural fabrics and this on top. Natural fabrics, ideally, it's no big deal if you end up in some polyester. I sleep in my jeans. Right. Now, there is one foundational thing, which is a duvet and a rug. I'll come to that later. But actually more important than that is accepting that, and I'm a science and body expert. I was brought up farming. I've had a zoo for my daughter. About 50 ferrets, about 20 rabbits, this is over 10 years, goats, a pony, rescued hedgehogs, we used to rescue hedgehogs, and various other creatures which I'll forget, okay? I know the body, and you hear so many people nowadays, it's terrible, saying that bodies are different. I mean, I was looking at somebody's video last night, and she was saying, oh, well, my body, I require lots and lots of drinking. Bullshit. Okay, most bodies are almost entirely the same. The first thing you have to accept, as soon as you incorporate this following habit into your life, you're much better off, is get up very early. Reset your body clock. I actually wake up most mornings about 5 o'clock. Okay, why? That sounds stupid. Okay, now this between 8 and 9 o'clock always feels the coldest time of the day. But why on earth wake up at 5 o'clock? Because you'll find it really quite cold in the evening. And sleeping overnight, duvet, rug, God, it's lovely and cozy and warm. But when you wake up in the morning, even if it's -5 outside, somehow your body heat has just warmed your core up, or being under the duvet and the rug has warmed your core up. And I find that if I'm up for a couple of hours, the first couple of hours of the day, even if it's really cold outside, and I do not run the engine, I try to survive on a gallon of fuel a week, 2 at the most. And I really do mean the most. And I've had 4 winters in the last 16 years. Okay, I've inhabited the southwest for the last 2.5 years. So I've had 2 winters here. This is my 3rd winter in the southwest. But I've had four winters in those 8 years. Where I've been in the east side of mid Wales, where 4 winters where it's been for a month or 2 -10. In fact, the 2009-10 winter and 10-11 winter, it was like -20 for 5 or 6 weeks. I repeat, never any heating, can't afford it. Accepting that from day one is your first hurdle to get through the winter. Just accepting it. And your life will grow around what you can do. Sometimes, if it were to be -10 for a week or 2, or even -5, there's always a way not to work. Just hibernate. I had 9 months where there was a small fault in this vehicle, and nobody could fix it. It took 9 months. Couldn't run the engine. The first 4 years I couldn't run the engine at all because the engine had actually broken. But 9 months, very cold winter, 3 winters back, couldn't run the engine at all, accepting that there is no way to heat up inside this vehicle. I'm probably going to have to turn this off now. I mean, the one bloody problem with the cold, I do love my bananas. Now, there's one problem with setting your life to being up very early in the morning. And it's, as I said, well, did I say? I can't remember. It also means sort of, generally I get in, if it's coldish, I'll get in the bed about 7 in the evening, even 6. If it's really cold, I'll get in the bed at 6. Now, the younger people who are all making van videos, okay, I'm going to also say one thing. Get off the phone. The phone is not your friend in your van. And you'll think that sounds ridiculous. I shall try and explain later. But the idea of like, oh, my life's a bit wretched and I've got this phone. Now, I do watch a couple of times a week. I'll watch a movie on my phone. I used to use a laptop, but they break. Xprime.tv. I only use pirate stations. I mean, every 6 months they change. Solar Movie, Putlocker, blah, blah, blah. Xprime TV is very, very good. Yes, so if you've got to go and shop at supermarkets, which we all do, most of us, and those that say they don't generally are lying. This is the one problem with the routine, or rather the resetting one's timescale, in that in the evening in supermarkets you could often get markdowns. Now, I don't, pretty revolting crap, but I try not to get too much crap. But these were 50p. Now, I'm mainly a nearly vegetarian, and I just happened to be passing a petrol station at 6 o'clock in the evening, and they were. But the only problem is I do like my bananas, and when it's very cold, the bananas suffer. So normally, if it were really cold, I'd actually have my bananas close to where I'm sleeping. If you're not a banana fan, well, ignore that one. But literally, the bananas are the only problem in terms of food. Yes, other fruit will get frozen as well. Right, I'm going to have to turn this off now. I'm going to work in a minute. The most important things. Right, so I'm now going to be driving 3 miles up the road, which will just warm things up. I shall be putting my phone in the front there. Now that's got that's a 7-year-old phone. So the battery doesn't, that's my main phone. This is just, right. If I'm driving along, I will put my heater on, but not immediately. There's a great kind of misnomer. You sort of see it, which is, I mean, this is about surviving on nothing, on as close to nothing as possible. All work these days has become revolting. Dealing with the state is revolting. And you won't necessarily be living in a van to live outside the system, but it's quite good to have the option to do that. And here's the thing. It's like, you have people. I was looking at. I basically don't use the phone, but for a kind of personal funny reason, I was trying to encourage a woman, to buy her own van, and started looking at a few videos about 9 months ago, and we were looking at some during this summer. Oh yes, well, no, we'll come to that later. And I just kind of 15 years ago I started to make bits of film of my first phase living in a van, and I've yet to do anything with that. And they're really good, actually, because they're really living on the edge. Hunger, starvation. Oh, I've had periods of hunger over the last 3 years. Hunger, starvation, just about holding on, with great pain inside as well. Never going mad, and never touching either alcohol as an anesthetic in any way, or any kind of medication. Don't. And I'm a bloody expert on psychology. Right. What was I going to say? Yes, living aside. I was looking at somebody yesterday who was talking about, well, put your heater on. Yeah. Now, every time, if you turn your heater on, I mean, I try and, if I'm driving, if I've got to drive somewhere, I plan my day, so I try and drive only in the day. Why? Because if you turn your headlights on, you're using a little bit of extra energy. You're using, and that energy will require the engine just to be using a little bit more fuel. Ditto if you put the heaters on. Your engine, I mean, you don't get your heat. I mean, arguably there's heat in the engine, of course, that's kind of going to waste, but not really. Because even having heat in the engine bay keeps the battery in the engine bay a bit warmer, and the warmer your batteries are, any battery, the longer they'll last, the less input they require. So there is a cost, and turning the fan on, that is using electricity from the system, which isn't free. Nothing's free. Your engine is just having to divert a little bit of forward traction to running the fan. So I think, and it's wonderful. It's actually a joy. God, I got an empty life. But it's like, I know I'm driving 3 or 4 miles up the road now. So prior to doing that, I'll put these there. I'll drive for a mile or 2 without the heater on, the fan, I should say. And once the engine's warmed up a bit, I'll just put it on for a few minutes to warm up the laptop and the phone, which keeps the batteries lasting longer. That's going to have to do for now. Every single thing that you buy will be unreliable, and that's an anchor that somebody got. It's unreliable. So, as I started, it's like, you've got to get out of the mode of thinking, what are the essentials? You can't rely on anybody. You can't rely on anybody, anything. I mean, literally the one essential is duvet and rug, but I think kind of everybody can provide themselves with that. I mean, if you're homeless, you can usually get those kinds of things from a charity, or from, well, you can't get anything from the council anymore. I can't think of anything else. Just for the, oh yes, I mean, everybody says, I mean, anything, as soon as you say van or whatever, I mean, let's deal with it. So this is my poo pan, which I keep under there. I never drive more than 45 miles an hour. Oh, that's an essential. I always drive so slowly and so carefully, because the one essential thing that would frig my whole life, of course, except it's happened before, and then good things come along out of it, is for a breakdown. But poo pan kept under there, and I can fill that up with 5 days of poo before I go and find a field and empty it. We'll come to all of that later.